What's up everyone, we're going to be going through the best NBA player props on Prizepicks today. Now I did want to show you the results from yesterday's picks from my exclusive Discord group, and as you guys see we actually got 21 picks correct, which was absolutely insane. Now a lot of you comment wanting to see how many I got wrong, and I thought I'd show you in today's video. We only got 2 picks wrong and got 21 right, which is about a 95% win rate. Yes guys, you heard that right, 95% win rate. So we're on a huge hot streak, but if you want to get a 95% win rate and get 21 picks right like me, win more bets and receive the best picks from some of the best bettors in the world for less than a cup of coffee, you can access the exclusive Discord and meet some of the best sport bettors in the game by joining my Patreon. Should be linked down below in the description. Once you join, you'll have complete access to the Discord and can start winning more bets today. So make sure to join my Patreon using the link in the description. And here's one of our members who just signed up and won himself $400 just yesterday, and another member who won $150 for the 6th day in a row since joining my Discord. So guys, if you want to win big money like our members, the link will be in the description, so go join the Patreon to have access to the Discord group, and I will be continuing to upload every single day on this channel the best bets and props, so make sure to subscribe so you don't miss my daily uploads. So quick shout out to Knight626 Fox who said let's make some stacks today, and shouts out to Renam McGee 8203 who said love this, trying to jump on board. So shouts out to them, and if you do want to win a shout out in the next video, all you have to do is comment down below in this video and like it, and you can be in the running to win a shout out in the next one. Alright, so let's get straight into the first pick. And when it comes to these picks, I'm not saying to chuck all of them into a parlay and hope for the best. Pick and choose the ones that you like and the ones that work best for you. So the first pick we're already talking about is none other than Jerome, and this one is actually for points, for actually 13 points flat, and this one actually is for less. Now looking at Jerome, we've actually seen him go on the under in 2 out of the last 5 games. Now looking at those 5 games, we see that on April 9th, they faced off against Chicago, where he had 18 points there. Then April 11th, faced off against Indiana, where he had 24 points. Then had 28 points in game 1 against Miami on April 21. And then Miami again on game 2, April 24th, had 6 points in that matchup, and then had 13 points against Miami in April 27th. So we actually have seen, Jerome, like I mentioned, go on the under in 2 out of the 5 games, but one of them being a push. And when we look at his average over the last 5, it's actually been a 17.8. So it has been, slightly above this line. Now, when we look at their matchup, they do come into this game in game 4 against Miami Heat. And this one's an interesting one because we do also know that when it comes to both of these teams, looking at Cleveland, we all do know that Cleveland did come in at the #1 spot in the Eastern Conference. They did a fantastic job throughout the regular season and had a record of 64-18. So that's a 78% win percentage. So they actually did a really good job there. And then on top of that, looking at Miami Heat on the other side of the poll, because they actually came in at 8th in the Eastern Conference with a record of 37-45. So very different between these two teams. Now obviously we do know that after the first 3 games, we actually have seen Cleveland lead in the series 3-0. So Miami are in a very tough situation because it's a win or go home situation for them coming into this next game. Now looking at Jerome and the matchup against Miami Heat. Now looking at Miami Heat, guys, as you all know, when we look at Miami, this is actually looking at the top 16 teams in the playoffs. So, when I mention these, rankings, guys, please, and girls, do remember that we are looking at the top 16. So if you rank 8 and below, you're actually below average technically when you just look at the playoff numbers. But looking at Jerome and the matchup against Miami, Miami do actually rank 16th when it comes to points allowed. So they rank very low out of all playoff teams. However, the reason why we still do like the under for this situation here is due to the fact that when it comes to Jerome, we definitely tend to see him play, that small forward position, and Miami actually do a very fantastic job at restricting points to the small forward position. So we definitely see someone like Jerome struggling here. Now looking at Jerome, obviously with the matchup between Cleveland and Miami, we both know these are very slow paced teams, so we aren't expecting that a lot of pace coming into this next game. Now obviously Miami in the game 1 against Cleveland, we did see him go off for 28 points.
we think that was a little bit of an outlier game. It's brought this line a little bit too high, that now there's a lot more value actually to go on the under in this one. Now, when we look at Ty Jerome against Miami during the regular season, we do see something interesting, because we actually do see in their first matchup against each other, which was on the 8th of December, we actually saw him have 14 points there, so over his line. And then on the 29th of January, we actually saw him have 20 points in that matchup, and also in the next matchup after that, which was actually in a March or 5th of March, we saw him have 12 points there. So went on the under in that situation. So, we actually have seen him do pretty well against Miami during the regular season. He did go under in 1 out of the 3 games, but you do also have to remember it is playoff time. Very, very different sort of, outcome coming into this matchup due to the fact that teams do have time to adjust and adjust greatly. And that's what's happened over the last 2 games. Obviously game 2 and game 3, although Cleveland did win, we've seen a less usage rate from Ty Jerome, and it's definitely affected his points. And that's why looking at more current sort of stats like game 2, like game 3, we should see similar situations like that coming into this next one. So for that reason, Ty Jerome, 13 points for less, I think is a fantastic pick. Now, getting into the next one, we're actually going to be talking about none other than Steph Curry. So, Steph Curry, as we all know, great player for none other than the Golden State Warriors. And this was a fantastic one because, as we all know, they do face off against Houston. But this one's a PRA, or points, rebounds, and assists for 38.5. And this one actually is for less. Now, looking at Steph Curry, as we all know, we do see him or pretty much going on the under in 1 out of those last 5 games. Now, we saw him on April 14th faced off against LA Clippers, where he had a 45 PRA, then had a 49 PRA against Memphis on April 16th. After that, we actually saw a 40 PRA against Houston on April 21st, and then on April 24th faced off against Houston again for game 2, where he had a 34 PRA, and then a 52 PRA against Houston on April 27th. When we actually look at Steph Curry, what we also do see is that, he has gone on the under in 1 out of those 5 games, but his average over the last 5 is also 44. Now, you may be wondering why we do like the under for this situation here, but looking at their matchup first, I do want to mention Golden State Warriors faced off against the Houston Rockets coming into this next game. Now, looking at both of these teams, you do know that the Golden State Warriors finished the season with the 7th spot in the Western Conference. Now, they did also have to play the play-ins, but they did a great job there, and they had a record of 48-34 during the regular season, which is a 58.5% win percentage. Now, looking at the other side of the table, we do see Houston Rockets in the Western Conference as well. They actually had a record of 52-30, so very, very good record, a 63.4% win percentage, which was honestly fantastic from him. And on top of that, looking at this matchup between both of these teams, we do know so far we actually do see the Golden State Warriors up 2-1 in the series. So it's definitely going to be a very, very exciting series. Now, looking at Houston Rockets, we do see them ranked 3rd when it comes to points allowed. Moving on into assists allowed, we see that they rank 9th, and then rebounds allowed, we also do see them ranked 3rd. And there's a big reason why we do very much like the under for this situation here. When it comes to Houston Rockets, they have done a fantastic job, or do a fantastic job, at restricting points and rebounds. But when it comes to Steph Curry, he is a guard, and we should actually see him go in the under due to the fact that we are expecting a lot more different defensive strategies, which could definitely have Steph Curry struggle. Now, Steph did have a very, very hot hand in the most recent matchup. Now, in that matchup, we do believe, these games sort of happen from time to time, but when we're looking at more of the math and more of the probability, we should more likely see him going on the under, especially in this matchup, as Houston Rockets are looking to adjust and looking to, try to get back on the same page and tie up the series. So it's definitely been an interesting time for him. Now, obviously, we do know or do see that when we look at Steph against Houston so far this season, it's definitely been a mixed bag. Now, they did play each other on the 11th of December. We had 19 points, 3 rebounds, and also 5 assists. So in that matchup, we actually saw him have a 28 PRA there. Did go in the under in that situation. Then we had another matchup where he had 27 points, 5 rebounds, and 3 assists. And then another matchup, which was on the actual 6th of this month, and we actually saw him have 3 points, 2 rebounds, and 8 assists there. So we actually have seen, Steph Curry go on the under in 2 out of those 3 games. That's definitely a telltale sign to us on why we do very much like the under for this next game as well. Houston have just done a fantastic job at restricting points, rebounds, and assists. assists, and we definitely see that continuing on into this next game, no doubt about it. Now, you also do want to see that when we look at Steph so far this season, we also have seen that he has done a great job. However, in this matchup against Houston, a lot of the focus and attention will be on Steph and trying to restrict him as much as they can. Now, when it comes to Jimmy Butler, although, whether Jimmy Butler plays or doesn't play, I know a lot of people do believe that if he doesn't play, there's going to be a high usage rate for Steph, but we actually do see his usage rate not really changing too much when Jimmy Butler is in or whether he's out. So, we don't really see that affecting this line that greatly. So either way, Steph and Curry, 38.5 points, reps, and assists for less, I think is a fantastic pick. Now, getting into the next one, we're going to be talking about Bam Adebayo. So as you all know, Bam Adebayo, great player for none other than the Miami Heat, and he has done a fantastic job. However, this one is for points. So this one's actually for 19.5 points, and this one actually is for less. Now, looking at Bam Adebayo, we've actually seen him go on the under in 3 out of the last 5 games. Now, when it comes to this matchup, obviously, we do see that Bam Adebayo has had some pretty lackluster matchups. We saw him on April 17th face off against Chicago, where he had actually 15 points there, and had 17 points against ATL on the 19th, and then against Cleveland in Game 1 had 24 points on April 21st, had 11 points on Cleveland on April 24th, and then also on the 27th against Cleveland, he had 22 points. So we've actually seen him go on the under, like I mentioned, in 3 out of the last 5 games, and one of them he just made it over on. Now, when we look at his average over the last 5, it is a 17.8, so slightly below this line as well, which works out in our favor. Now, when we see Bam Adebayo, obviously we do know he does usually play that big man position, so it's definitely a big part of his game. Now, when we look at Cleveland and actually look at points, we do see Cleveland Cavaliers ranking 5th when it comes to points allowed. So that's very, very good, especially since we are just looking at the top 16 teams that made it to the playoffs. So they have done a fantastic job there, and we definitely could see that continue on into this next game, no doubt about it. So obviously both teams do want to get the win. Cleveland want to close this out, while Miami Heat want to stay in there as long as they can. There's definitely different motives on both sides of the floor. Now, looking at Bam Adebayo, however, we did see Bam during the regular season. We saw on the 8th of December him having 16 points there, which was great to see. Now, when we also look at the 29th of January, we saw him have 21 points, and then on the 5th of March, we actually saw him have also 34 points. So he's definitely put on quite a show as of recent. Now, we should see him come back down to reality like that first game where he only had 16. That's usually where we tend to see his usage rate kind of peak at. But like I always mention, it is definitely interesting to see how this all does play out, because as we all know, Cleveland are very close to closing Bam Adebayo and the Miami Heat out. So we could see them maybe get subbed off early, which could actually lead to a little bit more for Bam Adebayo. So when we look at the situation, obviously we do very much like the under for this situation here, and we definitely see that happening coming into this game, no doubt about it. So I already mentioned the pace like before, but just keep an eye out for Bam Adebayo coming into this matchup. It's definitely an exciting matchup between Miami and Cleveland, and we should see him actually go on the under in this situation here. So Bam Adebayo, 19.5 points for less, I think is a fantastic pick.
Alright, so as you all know, I do want to get these picks out to you as soon as possible, but Prizepicks is delayed with some of their lines. So here are a couple of players you should definitely watch out for when their lines drop. So the first player we're going to be talking about is none other than Tyler Herro. So as you all know, Tyler Herro, great player for none other than the Miami Heat, and he's done a fantastic job during the regular season because he has actually averaged 23.9 points, 5.2 rebounds, 5.5 assists, while also shooting 47.2% from the field. So he's done a fantastic job for none other than the Miami Heat. And the Miami Heat, we actually do see he did rank in the regular season 17th in points, 69th in rebounds, 29th in assists, and also 60th in field goal percentage. So he did a great job there. Now, when we look at this matchup, Miami Heat do face off against the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now, in this series, Cleveland do actually lead 3-0. So, the Miami Heat are very close to being swept. So they are looking
looking to try to push this and see if they can secure themselves a win and hopefully give them a chance at actually, trying to bring themselves back into this playoff series. So when we look at the Cleveland Cavaliers, now, like we mentioned before, we are only looking at the top 16 teams. So we are looking at the teams that have just made into the playoffs, but we saw Cleveland rank 5th in points allowed. When it comes to assists allowed, we saw them rank 9th, and then rebounds allowed, we saw Cleveland rank 1st. So interestingly enough there, a bit of a mixed bag for Cleveland there, but we do very much like the over for this situation here for someone like Tyler Herro, but in the points and assist department. Now, a big reason being for this is due to the fact that when it comes to his matchup against Cleveland, what we have seen, what we have seen during the playoffs is that Cleveland do really struggle at, restricting points and assists, but they also do a poor job at restricting points, rebounds, and assists to the point guard position. So for that reason, we are or would mainly focus on points and assists for someone like Tyler Herro, due to the fact that coming into this game, this is a make or break game, and we should see a higher usage rate from Tyler Herro trying to help his team get, further into this playoff series. Now, looking at this matchup between Cleveland and Heat, obviously they have already played 3 games against each other. Now, in game 1, he had 21 points, 2 assists, 3 rebounds. They did take a loss 121-100 there. Then the next game after that had 33 points, 5 assists, 6 rebounds there, with a loss of a 121-112, and then had a most recent kind of blowout 124-87, where he had 13 points, 3 assists, and 4 rebounds, where, obviously it didn't go in their favor. Now, when it comes to Tyler Herro coming into this matchup, we still do very much like the over for this situation here. Although Cleveland are beating them, pretty much in all facets, whether it's on offense, on defense, Cleveland are definitely dominating this series. When we look at a prop situation in a sense of more individual performance, we still should see Tyler Herro be able to go on the over in this one. So for that reason, we are definitely sticking to the over. Like I mentioned, focus a little bit more on points and assists, as we definitely see a lot more value there for someone like Tyler Herro, especially due to the fact that Cleveland overall do a poorer job in those 2 categories. So keep an eye out for his line. If the line is under his averages, then definitely look to go on the over there. Now, getting into the next player, we're actually going to be talking about his opponent, Evan Mobley, or also known as Defensive Player of the Year. So Cleveland Cavaliers have done a great job this season. Now, Evan Mobley has actually averaged 18.5 points, ranking 43rd, 9.3 rebounds, ranking 14th, 3.2 assists, ranking 79th, and a 55.7% field goal percentage, ranking in 12th. So it's definitely been an interesting time for, Evan Mobley and the Cleveland Cavaliers, because they have been on absolute tear as of recent. Like we mentioned before, they rank 1st in Eastern Conference. Heat only rank 8th. So, when we look at on paper, we should have seen Cleveland pretty much sweep this, and that is kind of the situation that has happened so far. Now, when it comes to this matchup, when we look at Miami Heat, we do see Miami Heat do rank when it comes to points allowed 16th. When we look at assists allowed, we also do see Miami Heat ranking 14th, and then rebounds allowed, we see Miami Heat rank a little bit better as they rank 7th. But like I mentioned, guys and girls, we are looking at only the top 16 teams. So even though they do rank 7th in rebounds, that's still on the lower tier because there is only 16 teams we're looking at. And for that reason, we do very much like the over for someone like Evan Mobley in all 3 situations here. Now, obviously, Evan Mobley does have a higher usage rate, however, in points and rebounds. So that is kind of the only reason why I would, a little bit more focus on those 2, due to the fact that he does have a higher usage rate and has more of an intentional usage rate in 2 of those departments. Now, when it comes to assists, it is a little bit tricky. He does have games where he has some big assists, but it doesn't seem to be too intentional. Sometimes just luck of the draw, he has one of those games. So that's why I think points and rebounds is definitely where you want to focus on. We highly doubt that there will be a line out for assist as well. So that's also something to be aware about for sure. Now, when we look at Evan Mobley and the Cleveland Cavaliers, obviously looking at this matchup between both, Cleveland are up 3-0 so far in the series, and looking at how Evan Mobley has done so far. In game 1, he had 9 points, 1 assist, 7 rebounds there. Then in game 2, had 20 points, 6 rebounds, and also 1 assist. Then 19 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists in game 3. So he has done a fantastic job for the Cleveland Cavaliers. And when it comes to, obviously his stat line over the last 3 games, he hasn't been able to go over very much consistently. He has had a bit of lackluster in the rebounds. He's done well in points, however, and assists, it's a little bit up and down. But we think in this game 4, especially a closeout game for Cavaliers, we definitely could see Evan Mobley get a little bit more usage rate and, finally solidify the win. And a big reason for this, usage rate from Evan Mobley and a little bit less than usual is due to the fact that Cleveland have definitely absolutely blown out Miami Heat at times. And it's definitely caused Cleveland and the rest of the coaching staff to actually rest Evan Mobley as much as they can and also other stars as early as they can. So that's a big reason for it as well. But coming into this one, we are expecting this game to pretty much go down to the wire due to the fact that Miami Heat, they have their backs against the wall, and we are expecting them to come out blazing, especially, if they are in that take or go home situation here. So for that reason, we should see a little bit more higher usage rate from Evan Mobley, a little bit more minutes, which should definitely have a huge effect coming into this game. So, for that reason, keep an eye out for Evan Mobley. We do very much like the over for this situation here. So Evan Mobley, points and rebounds, keep an eye out for those lines. If it is under his averages, then definitely look to go on the over. Now, getting into the next player, we're going to actually be talking about none other than Buddy Hield. So as you all know, Buddy Hield, great player for none other than the Golden State Warriors, and he's done a fantastic job so far this season as well. We've actually seen him, average very well, 11.1 points, 3.2 rebounds, 1.6 assists, while also shooting 41.7% from the field. So yes, it may not be superstar type numbers, but he's still done a fantastic job and has been a great addition to this Golden State Warriors roster. Now, when it comes to his rankings, he ranked 103rd in points, 150th plus in the rebounds, 150th plus in assists, and then 108th in field goal percentage. So interestingly enough, there has definitely done pretty decent, especially for his role for this team. Now, when it comes to Buddy Hield and the Golden State Warriors, like we do know, they do face off against the Houston Rockets. Now, just refreshing your memory, Rockets do rank second with a record of 52-30 as a 63.4% win percentage, and then they face off against the Warriors, like we mentioned, with Warriors coming in 7th with a 48-34 record, a 58.5% win percentage. So definitely interesting between both of these teams. Now, obviously, looking at where both of these teams are, Golden State Warriors are leading 2-1 in the series, and they are looking to try to get this game in order to put them in a 3-1 situation. So definitely important game here. Now, first of all, obviously, we don't know what is going to be happening to actually Jimmy Butler, whether he will be playing in this game or not. That's something to definitely just keep an eye out for. But either way, still looking at the Houston Rockets, we do see that the Houston Rockets do rank 3rd in points allowed. When it comes to assists allowed, we do see them ranked 9th, and then rebounds allowed, we do see, Houston Rockets rank 3rd as well. Now, when it comes to Buddy Hield, we do very much actually like the under for this situation here. Although Buddy Hield did have a great last game and has definitely been a big asset to this team, we think Houston Rockets are going to play a lot more defensive pressure on some of their, role players, whether it's Buddy Hield, Jonathan Kuminga, Moses Moody, these types of players, due to the fact that Houston Rockets did lose last game due to, players like Buddy Hield being able to go off for quite a lot of points. So we have seen is Houston really adjust their defense, strategically at times, and we should see that continue on into this next matchup, no doubt about it. Now, on top of that, when you also look at where both of these teams are, obviously it is a very crucial game for him. But when we look at Buddy Hield over the last couple of games, or last 3 games against Houston, we saw in game 1 he had 2 points, 1 rebound, 0 assists there. So it went under on all of his lines there. Then we also saw in the next matchup, he had 4 rebounds and also 5 points and 1 assist. So went under in 2 out of the 3, stat lines there. And it had 17 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists there. So, in that most recent game, yes, he did have a little bit more usage rate. And that's definitely due to the factor that Jimmy Butler was out. Now, Jimmy Butler coming into this next game, he is still expected to play right now. Anything can definitely still change, however, so that's definitely something you want to keep an eye out for, whether it will change coming closer, to the actual end. But I definitely would keep an eye out where that actually goes in the future, because you could definitely see it go, more in favor, whether Jimmy Butler, is it playing in a sense that, we could see him more likely go on the under. So that's why it's a definite important thing to look at when it comes to this. So for that reason, keep an eye out for Buddy Hield on the under. I think points and rebounds is definitely where you may want to focus on. There may be in a line out for assist. I highly doubt it, since Buddy Hield has such a low usage rate in that department. I don't think that they will be touching that in any sort of way, but it's definitely something you just want to keep an eye out for sure. So keep an eye out for that for Buddy Hield. Points and rebounds definitely where you want to focus on, but I think all three definitely have the capability. Now, getting into the next player, we're going to be talking about none other than Fred VanVleet. So Fred VanVleet, great player, as we all know, for none other than the Houston Rockets. Now, it's definitely been a very, very interesting time because, the Houston Rockets are currently down 2-1 in this series. Now, when we look at Fred VanVleet, however, during the regular season, we saw him average 14.1 points, which is great, 3.7 rebounds, 5.6 assists, while also shooting 37.8% from the field. So he's done a fantastic job there. Now he does rank 70th in points, 131st in rebounds, and then 28th in assists. So it's definitely been, a very good time for Fred VanVleet in the Houston Rockets, because they still did rank second in the Western Conference, like we mentioned, and then Warriors ranking in 7th. Now they are currently down, but looking at the Golden State Warriors, we do see Golden State Warriors ranked second in points allowed. When it comes to assists allowed, we see them ranked 4th, and then rebounds allowed, we do actually see them ranked really poorly, as they rank 16th. Now, when it comes to someone like Fred VanVleet, we do very much like, the actual under for this situation here, but for points and assists. When it comes to Golden State Warriors, what has had them win these games is definitely their defense. Their defense is definitely switched on quite a bit, and it definitely does show as we look at their rankings being very, very high. And that's why we are expecting the Warriors to have and continue that defense coming into this next game. Obviously, the Warriors are looking to bring it up 3-1, and Fred VanVleet and the Houston Rockets are looking to try to tie things up. So there's definitely going to be pressures from both sides. But the fact that Golden State Warriors also do a fantastic job at restricting points, rebounds, and assists to the point guard position, we definitely see being a huge factor. So for that reason, we do very much like the under for this situation here. We definitely see someone like Fred VanVleet, going on the under due to that. Now, looking at his game so far against the Golden State Warriors, it's definitely been a mixed bag. Now, obviously, game 1, he had 10 points, 7 assists, and actually had 1 rebound there. So did go on the under in points and rebounds. The next game, game 2, went on the under in points, only had 7 points there. Also went under an assist where he had 2 assists, but then had 6 rebounds. And then on top of that, 17 points, also 3 assists, and also 4 rebounds in that matchup. So interesting one there. Obviously went on the under in his assist category. And, I think when it comes to Fred VanVleet in this next matchup, I think all 3 stats, whether it's points, whether it's rebounds and assists, he definitely still has the capability to go on the under. But I would definitely focus a little bit more on points and assists, going on the under, due to the fact that, when it comes to Golden State Warriors, they do rank very, very well in both of those categories. But overall, Warriors defense, especially against point guards, has definitely been very, very good. So we definitely see that being a huge effect coming into this game. But if there was ones to focus on, I think points and assists is definitely where you want to keep your eye out for, especially when the line comes out. So if the line is too close to his averages, then definitely look to go on the under.